listening to
A to the K.
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 A to the K Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.
And we'll move on to This Week in Wrestling.
Okay.
And you have the first show.
I do. So this week on Raw, the card consisted of a 6-on-6 tag match. We had Asuka, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke taking on Zelina Vega, Lana, and Natty, with Asuka, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke picking up the win. We had Dominic and Umberto taking on Seth Rollins and Murphy, with the latter picking up the win in that one. We had the Kevin Owens show with Bray Wyatt as the guest. We had Braun Strowman taking on Keith Lee, which ended up in a double count-out because obviously they can't give anybody the win ever. To be
honest, the way they booked Braun Strowman versus Dabba-Kato, I was beginning to wonder whether they were just going to squash another NXT guy.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an option. But yeah, double count-out in this case. We had Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin taking on Apollo and Ricochet, with the Hair Business Bros picking up the win. We had the women's tag titles on the line with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defending against the Riot Squad, with the champions retaining. We had...
And somehow, Lana got smashed through a table.
Somehow. That seems to be the norm every week. We had Mustafa Ali taking on MVP, which ended up in a no contest, but we'll have more on that shortly. And the main event of the evening, for some reason, was Drew McIntyre and the Street Profits taking on Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler, and Bobby Roode. With, I'm not actually put who took the win. Who knows?
Who gives a fuck?
Okay, yeah, exactly. So the highlights of the night. So Raw kicked off with a promo from Randy Orton, which was actually very good. I feel like he's been spending a lot of time working on his promos the last few months. Not all of them are hits. You know, there's been a few misses and quite bad misses. But, you know, when he gets it right, he does a really good job. And I feel like this was a good case. You know, again, you know, let's hold our hands up. This was a recap promo because obviously we're all goldfish and we can't remember what happened the week before. You know, WWE very much panders to the casual fan who doesn't tune in every week. And boy, do we know about it when you do tune in every week, because you get the whole fucking show replayed from the week before. So this was no different in that regard. But where it was a bit different was the fact that it didn't take place in the ring this time. It took place in the room where last week he pretty much demolished the whole Legend roster who beat him up at the pay-per-view. So a little bit different in the fact it was outside the ring. However, Drew McIntyre turns up towards the end of the pay-per-view of the promo, and well, he beats the fuck out of him. So all in all, it was different. It was good, strong from Randy, and a nice little one-up for Drew in the feud that they've got going. So that was good.
Yeah, it's fair.
The next one, Anthony, is going to probably shock you. It's going to shock you, man. It's going to shock you. And it sounds like you're disagreeing already. But I am a harsh critic of the 24/7 Championship, of R-Truth and everything that goes on. But you know what? This week, it made me fucking laugh. So R-Truth was in the background doing his own draft. And that concept in itself just tickled me right off the bat. You drafted little Jimmy to SmackDown for no reason. That I don't know why you would do that. So, and like if you actually look at some of the names and stuff that were on there, there was so many little throwbacks and callbacks to crazy shit that, you know, it did make me chuckle. But I won't get into that now. But yeah, go and check that out. But then he sees a janitor and he goes, "You're not going to get me, Randy Orton," because obviously the week before he dressed as a janitor with night vision goggles, and that actually did tickle me in fairness. Yeah. So, you know, I every week I'm saying fuck R-Truth, fuck the 24/7 title. It's bullshit. It's awful. It's so not funny. It made me laugh this week. Yeah, I've got to give it credit. But actually, Randy Orton did turn out to be Drew Gulak, and he scored the pin. So Gulak is the 24/7 champion at this point in time. Again, doesn't last, of course, because it never lasts.
The only thing I would say, like, I get why it's gone in your highlights. It's the better of the stupid R-Truth stuff. I'm just kind of done with the R-Truth stuff.
I mean, I'm done with it, definitely. But for the amount of things I've seen, like, you know, and how bad it's been as well, the weird fucking Kit Kat thing with Liv Morgan, the weird Tozawa gets eaten by a shark, like, everything that's happened has been awful. But this felt like just a breath of fresh air for him, because it was something where I know it was little Jimmy, I know it was like stupid shit, but it felt funny and refreshing. Whereas the other stuff just felt like, oh God.
This felt like it had a bit more effort in to actually have some jokes.
And don't get me wrong, I don't believe this is him turning over a new leaf and he's going to be funny from now on. I just feel like they got lucky this week, 100%. But, it made me laugh, so it's a highlight for me. So I mentioned before, we had Braun Strowman taking on Keith Lee. So earlier in the night, he was like, "Oh, I'm here. There's no Raw Underground, but I want to fight somebody."
Yeah. Has anyone explained why there's no Raw Underground? It's 2 weeks now.
Nope, nobody knows.
Shut up shop and gone home, has he?
Well, I mean, it is the Underground, so you'd assume they wouldn't have to explain themselves, and you'd assume that they wouldn't be telling WWE when there was or wasn't an Underground. So, but anyway, that aside, Braun shows up. He made, I don't want to go into this too much because I'm pretty sure I've got this as a low light or a no shite, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. The match itself is what is a highlight. So Braun and Keith Lee was all right, to be fair. They ended it with a double count out, which, it's an unsanctioned match. So how does a double count? It's basically Braun. Braun isn't the Raw superstar. It's a SmackDown star. So this I can't remember his name. What's his name? What the fuck is that guy's name? Baldy guy. No, do you know the guy who's like got power, but no one knows who he is? He's like, who the fuck put you in charge anyway, man? That guy.
Shane.
He shows up. No.
No, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just can't remember his name. The unofficial GM.
Unofficial GM. So he's there going, well, Braun, you're on SmackDown, so I can't give you an official match. So, but what I can do is give you an unsanctioned match. Ooh. But apparently you can get double counted out.
How do you give an unsanctioned match?
Exactly. Who knows? Basically, I've not booked any of the show. So there's some time to fill. So if you want to just go and beat each other, and we'll put the cameras on you.
But by booking it, haven't you just sanctioned said match?
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense, does it? But But look, I'm a fan of stylistic matchups. Two big hosses going at it. What more could you want? Keith Lee, phenomenal, athletic, big guy. Braun Strowman, big guy.
And he does that pouty thing, doesn't he?
Yeah. So, it was fine until it ended up in the fucking double count out. So, yeah, that was a bit shit. But all in all, yeah, enjoyed it. I was like, ooh, this is going to be good. And it was all right. So the next highlight, Ali is the leader of Retribution. So we've said this a while ago. Obviously, the whole vignettes we have with the hacker and stuff that kind of disappeared. We were pretty sure that was Ali, and then we just never saw it again. And they may never go back to the fact that there was a hacker or this has any resemblance.
I think they'll touch on it, but never officially go for it.
So, you never know. But Ali is basically, he comes out and he's going to challenge MVP. He's having a match with him. And then Retribution come out and he jumps outside and he's like going to fight Retribution. And MVP's like, yeah. He's going to stand with me because he's trying to get more people into the hair business. And all of a sudden he turns around and goes, no, fuck you. I'm actually the leader. And then, I feel like it's the long swerve, isn't it? I feel like it's something that we predicted was going to happen. Never happened. Ali came back. We were like complaining he's underutilized. What's going on? Why is he come back? Why didn't he do anything? I'm
curious. Do you think this was the plan? Do you think this was always the plan?
I don't, if I'm honest. I think
because I feel like they knew that Djokovic wasn't getting over as the leader or on the mic, in all honesty, and it was coming across as silly. And I think they've made that swerve for that reason. I don't think they ever intended to have Ali in that spot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it always kind of lent itself to be in the plan, but I don't think WWE were ever going to pull the trigger on it. But then, for whatever reason, they have done that now. So I'm all for it. I think Ali is solid. He, when he did have his opportunity, he was very much over. A lot of people were behind him. He was in them or going towards the main event scene. So absolutely, I think it makes sense to have someone like him. Potentially being the leader of the faction, but where does it go from here? I don't know. Let's not lie. Retribution still suck balls. They are shit, but they've got Ali. So if Ali can elevate it, then great.
It can do some good work. This is the thing. I feel like it's necessary and it's doing nothing but good for them. And I enjoyed the swerve, but Retribution was still fucking stupid, weren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah. And then the final highlight, Anthony. So I didn't actually note down in the pre-match thing who won or lost, but in my notes, and now I understand why. The main event was actually pretty good. It was solid, good contest. Fair play to the Street Profits. I'm not really a big fan of theirs, but the match itself was fine. They put on a good showing. And actually, Randy Orton got the win over Drew. So I quite like that, to be fair, because if you think about it, Drew has got the win over Randy Orton now a couple of times. And if anything, this kind of gives Orton the opportunity to be like, well, okay, I've got a win over Drew, so what's that going to mean going into Hell in a Cell? So I don't know. Will Orton finally win this time? Is Drew going to go over him again? Is that going to do damage to Randy Orton? I don't know. I don't want Drew to drop the title, but I don't know. It seems like
it's a strange one, isn't it?
That.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. For one, I don't really need this match at Hell in a Cell, but fuck it, we've got it, haven't we?
we do. Over to the O'Shites then. So, the women's match, Anthony, it was poor. Very poor.
Yeah.
So, Mandy Rose got the win. Lana takes the loss. And for fuck's sake, again, with Lana going through the table. So I think we spoke about this in the news, but surely this has got to be the fact that Rusev's gone over to AEW. Like, there's no reason why you would have Lana go through the table every week at the hands of Nia Jax. Just doesn't make any sense.
No, other than, like you say, it's just a punishment thing, isn't it?
Yeah, seems to be. So that, seeing that again for the umpteenth time, not good. Then we get Seth and Murphy, the whole kind of fight that's going on with them. So Murphy comes out, he wants an apology. Dominic and Humberto come down because they've got a tag match, and then they kind of put them on the back foot. Murphy pulls out the win, so Murphy actually gets the win this time, which kind of shows that he's actually not just a little bitch. He can actually do something. And then we kind of get this weird little ticking timer through the night, because Murphy basically says he wants Seth to apologise, and so we get a countdown to when he's actually going to apologise. Then Seth comes out and he tells Murphy, well, do you know what? You got to apologise to me. And so you get to Murphy's face. He's like pulling on his beard, slapping him, whatever. And basically, eventually, Murphy snaps. They go at it in the ring, and he makes Seth say sorry. And then all of a sudden, Seth turns, goes after his eyes, fucking clawing his eyes out as he does, because he's got a weird
he's an eye guy now.
Yeah, he's an eye guy, and then he starts fucking beating him up with a kendo stick. So Elia comes out and tries to stop Seth, basically, because he's now gone on top. And the Mysterios come out and then pull her away from it. I don't care. No. Do not care. The less Mysterios, the better. So
yeah.
So I mentioned before about Braun Strowman. Like, oh, he's so bad. He showed up. He drove all the way down here to find Underground isn't on. All the way to Florida. From Florida, because he lives in Florida. So,
and given how you've not bothered going to work the last couple of weeks, because apparently you drafted to Smackdown.
Exactly.
Not that big an imposition, is it, you
exactly.
big knobhead?
So he drove all the way down, and he's a bit arsey, and he's like, well, do you know what? I want to have a match to make it worthwhile. And then Adam Page, is he called Adam Page? Maybe. I want to say he's called Adam Page. Baldy commissioner guy comes out and it's like, well, you can have an unsanctioned match, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, I'm okay with that as long as someone's going to get these hands. It's like, it's
one of them catchphrases that was stupid anyway. And he keeps doing it.
It's just like, he could be awesome.
No,
and I feel, no, he could.
No, he couldn't.
He really could. If he spoke less and just was a silent destroyer, he would be sound. But the fact he speaks when he can't speak and he's a bit of an idiot, and the fact he has catchphrases is bad. It's very bad. The Kevin Owens show. So we had The Fiend on this week, and this sucked. It sucked balls, which is not something I often say for a Fiend segment, but Fiend is there. Bray is there, and he sings a song, because why wouldn't you sing a song? And then nothing really happened because all it was set up to do was to hype up SmackDown. And I know it's draft day. I know you want to get eyes on the draft. And I know that potentially Fox, makes SmackDown the premier show now. But is it really that bad to go, we don't care about Raw, we're going to use this segment to tell people to tune into SmackDown? Because that's all that happened.
Yeah.
So it was a waste of time. And lastly, the women's tag. So, yeah, I've said it before. The match itself was fine. The Riot Squad didn't pick up the win, which is a shame. But, I just hate this because I hate Jax and I hate Baszler. And I hate the fact that they put Lana through a table again. So that's the main reason.
Yeah.
So for me, that was Raw. And all things considered, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm firmly with you on a 2. There was some okay bits, but it doesn't deserve more than that. Nowhere near.
No, it certainly wasn't a 0 as it has been a week or 2 ago.
We've had them before.
We have had a 0. This one was watchable. There was some good bits. There was no.
But I think it says a lot when one of your better things in Raw was R-Truth. That tells you a lot about what's going on around it.
It does. It certainly does. But yeah. So for me, I feel like a 2 is fair. It wasn't great, but by Raw standards, it definitely wasn't one of the worst.
Them Raw standards. Right. So let's talk about NXT then, Carl. Okay. So, as far as the card goes, we saw Kushida taking on Tommaso Ciampa, with Tommaso taking the win because of a disqualification, which we'll talk about. We saw a promo from Ember Moon that involved Rhea Ripley and a few other moving parts, but we'll talk about that. We saw Drake Maverick and Killian Dane going up against Everrise, with Killian Dane and Drake Maverick taking the win. We saw Austin Theory going up against Leon Ruff, with Austin Theory taking the win. We saw Austin Theory against Dexter Lumis, with Dexter Lumis taking the win. We saw Ridge Holland versus Danny Burch, with Ridge Holland taking the win. We saw Shotzi Blackheart going up against Xia Li, with Shotzi Blackheart taking the win. And we closed the night out with Ember Moon and Rhea Ripley going up against Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, with Ember Moon and Rhea Ripley taking the win. All in all, nice stacked card, some good matches there, a lot of good fun to be had. As far as the highlights go, Carl, not a lot to say on the promo itself. It was a bit weak, but we had Ember Moon come out, she cut a promo and she's like, I went riding and thinking and whatever bollocks. And, basically she wants to go for a title shot against Io Shirai. Io Shirai comes out and they have a little sort of eye to eye. And then Rhea Ripley comes out and she's like, hold on, I want a shot at the title too. And then obviously Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez attack Rhea Ripley. Ember Moon goes to make the save. Io stays in the ring and watches them all. And we set up for the main event, essentially. And then that question, well, why didn't Io bother helping out? And Io's like, I don't give a fuck. So not too bad, but I mean, Ember Moon, from what I can see so far, not the best on the promo front, but seems really good in the ring, and we'll talk about the main events. But fair play to her. She's back. It's looking good. There's some hype. I look forward to seeing a match between her and Io. So yeah, I'm on board. Works for me. So it's a highlight. Suspense. So I'm curious now how you feel about this. The pairing of Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Now, it's kind of stupid, right? But they're kind of like a lame buddy cop comedy kind of thing going on. Like, Dane really doesn't want to be a part of it, but ultimately gets dragged in. Maverick is all in, giving them goofy music and trying to get Dane to dance with them and stuff. And it is very goofy. But even some of the in-ring work I think is really funny. Like, basically, Dane wasn't for it. He wasn't for being tagged. Ultimately, one of Everrise hits him. I don't even know the names of Everrise, sorry guys. And it pisses Dane off to the point that he gets involved. But he doesn't get involved like he's going to do the match, per se. He gets involved in the sense of he powerbombs Drake Maverick onto the member of Everrise for the pin, which I thought was fantastic. And similarly, to get the tag, there was a point when Drake was being pinned. So Killian Dane runs in, deals with the fella from Everrise, I think boots him, and then drags Drake Maverick to the corner so that he's there for the tag. And just stupid stuff like that I'm like, this is actually, I quite like the dynamic and the way the big guys just sort of controlling everything. It just I don't know, I'm for it. I'm intrigued to see how this dynamic goes going forward. I think Drake's obviously ultimately going to win him over, but just some of the little things they did in the match just tickled me. But how did you feel about this whole dynamic between the two?
I wouldn't say I was as big on it as maybe you are. I don't know. I feel like Drake is probably above this kind of stuff, and so is Killian as well. I feel like they've just gone, well, we've got nothing for these guys. Let's put them together and make some kind of, odd couple kind of tag team. And there are moments where it's kind of like you're like, but I don't know. I just feel like they can both deserve a bit better.
I'll take your points. I mean, this is them both getting some screen time, so I don't think either are objecting at this point. But I do take your point that they could be doing more, or they could be treated a little bit better. But I'm interested to see where it goes. So back off.
I'm sorry, I take it back.
So promo I never mentioned because I didn't really give a shit about it, but we saw a little VT during NXT. I couldn't even tell you where it was placed, in which Gargano and Candice LeRae turn up outside the house, because apparently we film at their house quite a lot now.
All the time.
And there's a big 65-inch TV at the front of the house with a little note on it saying, like, I believe you need a new TV. And it was from Indy Hartwell. And Candice is like, why would you be giving us a new TV? And the reason this goes in my highlights is because Gargano's literally not give a fuck attitude towards it. And he's like, doesn't care that it's from her or why. He's just like,
he's just happy he's got his telly.
I'm like, I love that. That tickled me. So yeah, he got me on that one. So I enjoyed that. Ultimately, he sets the TV up and there's a tape there that shows how often Indy Hartwell was helping Candice LeRae during the Battle Royal and that kind of thing. So they're pushing for that sort of dynamic, that friendship maybe. But it was the beginning bit that got me. The no fucks, like free TV. It was just, it got me. I like it.
Yeah.
And a highlight that surely you're on board for, Carl. Dexter Lumis is back.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And
Definitely.
how good was it? Like, it's so simple. Comes back up, ruins Theory. Just, why not? That's what Theory's there for.
Fucking love it. I love it. I love Dexter. He's a legend.
It was so good. Like, he speaks volumes without saying a word. Fantastic.
He does. I feel like that's what he does best. He doesn't have to come on and cut some fucking promo. He conveys everything with a little creepy look.
And I don't know if they've changed his entrance at all, or whether it's just more impactful in the new Capital Wrestling Center. But like that whole psychedelic sort of entrance theme and the video that surrounds the ring, and that was all kind of like, it really added to this whole freaky stare and dynamic, you know? Yeah,
I feel like it was just like the whole like atmospheric aspect of it. It was just kind of draw you in a bit more, didn't it? But I'm so happy he's back.
Yeah. No, a great addition to the roster. So it's nice to see he's back off injury, and the injury wasn't too bad because obviously I think it was ankle, wasn't it? He did, but nothing too bad. So he's rested up and he's back. He's back to squash theories and probably some other stuff. I don't know. So as for the O'Shea's, Carl, again, nitpick that I often have with not just NXT but most any part of WWE, the fact that there was no main event booked. Regal was fucking made up that Ember Moon cut a promo and it ended up in a kickoff because he just didn't have anything planned. So he storms out and he's like, right, you two are going to face you two in the main event, because apparently they never fucking had one. And it bugs me that, but here we are. Or two people are there like, the fuck, we were in the main event?
Yeah.
But, I don't know. All good fun. So, strange one. They kind of make it clear today that Ridge Holland was the one who attacked Cole. Okay. I thought that wasn't going to be the case. He brought him to the ring, but I didn't think it was going to be so far gone that he attacked him. They asked him about it, and he's like, well, last week I didn't have a Mercedes. This week I've got a Mercedes. That's thanks to Adam Cole. So you're like, okay. Sure.
Yeah. Maybe he's got Mercedes Martinez. Maybe that's it.
That's what it is. And Cole's got ribs now. I do want to have a little gripe as a whole about things in a sec, but Cole's got broken ribs now, so we couldn't have a match. Right. The Austin Theory Dexter Lumis match. Cameron Grimes came out and attacked Lumis at the end of this match because apparently he refused to answer the question when he asked him something, right? And I just needed to say, fuck off, Grimes. I don't want this feud. I'm not really into you as a wrestler. Just fuck the fuck off.
Nobody wants this feud.
Nobody
went
wants
from
this feud.
Dexter Lumis is back to not for this.
It's just stupid, isn't it?
Mm.
Sorry, while I'm mentioning random attacks and things I don't want, Velveteen Dream was the reason that Tommaso and I forgot his name. What's his name?
Kushida.
Yeah, the Velveteen Dream interrupted in that match, jumped down, attacked. Tried to attack. What's his face? And Kushida, and I think accidentally clocked Tommaso, but ultimately, the match was sort of thrown out because of that interference. And Velveteen actually looked shocked at it, and I'm like, "Why are you shocked? You've just interrupted a match. What did you think was going to happen?" But hey ho. So that again, not really bothered by that feud. Could have done without it, but here we are. Then we had another fucking Damian Priest promo. He's still a charisma vacuum, Carl. Again, I think some of the problem here, right? It might not even be him, right? He's boring, right? He comes across boring, but they want us to think that he's fun, right? That's why he's in hot tubs and talking about parties and trying to laugh, but in an uncomfortable way because he doesn't know how. But the trouble is, I think they keep putting him on the mic when he's got nothing to say. Because this promo was here for him to go, well, if people want to challenge for this title, then they can. It's like, well, thanks for that information, numbnuts, but that's generally how holding a title works.
You see, I don't know why he reminds me very much of like Vin Diesel.
Yeah,
he's just a guy who's got no fun aspect about him. He's just a guy who's just like,
oh jeez, I love it.
I'm having fun. I'm in a hot tub.
Yeah, that's him. I think that his emotions are just stunted. I think it's the happiest day of my life. But all in all, I don't get. I've seen him have more promos than I have matches at this point, and I just don't know what they're for. I don't need reminding that he's the North American title holder. He's not fun, and this wasn't even directed at anyone in particular. It's just people want to challenge for my belt. They can. It's like fucking brilliant. Good. That's good. You're willing to wrestle. You're a wrestler, so we're glad that you're willing to do that. Dickhead. Anyway, right moment. This isn't an shite because it's a bad match or anything, but just a shout out to Ridge Holland's leg. That poor bastard. That looked painful. So for those who didn't see it, there was a spot where he obviously finished his match with Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan got involved. Dove off the top rope. Ridge was meant to catch him, did catch him, but also fucked his knee right up. And you can see it straight off the bat. The landing was awkward. You knew it was genuine. They threw the X up, got him on the stretcher. Poor guy hasn't even been back with us that long, and that looks like it might put him out at least for a couple of weeks. That looked painful. Yeah. Poor guy.
I mean, it's not ideal, is it, when the whole segment with Adam Cole and stuff?
I know, yeah.
It was me. Okay, my knee.
So this is probably a good point to talk about it, right? Not so much the Ridge thing, because that wasn't intentional, but have you noticed, right? We had Karrion Kross legitimately damaging his shoulder, having to relinquish the title, right? We've now got Finn Balor, from all accounts, I imagine, pretending to have a fractured jaw from the match, and Adam Cole pretending to have broken ribs. Is it just me, or is everyone who's been involved in the main title scene, bar Keith Lee, who held it for a couple of minutes, suddenly injury prone? And it's speculative because two of them are like story based, aren't they? Because I don't believe that Finn's injury is real. I think it's just part of the booking. To go, look how bad, look how hard hitting that match was. They've really hurt each other. And I don't think Adam Cole's ribs obviously were, that was definitely part of a story. So, I mean, what do you reckon the motivation is here?
I don't know, but if I was a NXT guy, I would not be challenging for that belt for a bit.
Well, I'm also looking at
someone else go at it. Make sure they don't get injured, and then the curse is broken.
On social media, we saw X-rays of Finn's jaw, so we know he's legitimately hurt. Story-wise, he's hurt. We've seen some X-rays of some bad jaws, but even so, whether it's story or whether it's real life, why hasn't he had to go for the title? Karrion did.
Very true.
So I find that odd. Maybe there's some clarity there, and I've not looked into it. Who knows? That's what we're about on this show. Research. Anyway, my last O'Shea Carl goes to Shotzi Blackheart, and I've been giving you credit for the last few weeks, Shotzi, and I still want to give you credit. You're fantastic. You're really proving yourself in the ring. But what I don't get is the screaming and howling and stuff. Like, she come out in her tiny tank, which she does, and I've learned to live with that. You know, that's part of what she does. She drives a little tank for some reason, right? But this week she was doing this whole wolf like, right, and then she was like asking if we were scared, like looking to the camera, going, "Are you scared?" I was like, "No," because you think like you're more like a kitten. You know what I mean? Like, it's not scary, but I don't. It just felt kind of cringy. You know, like what she's going for. Like, I don't know, she's trying to promote Halloween Havoc because that's going to be the thing she hosts. But it just, I don't know, it just a little bit cringy. And for someone who's so good in the ring, I don't think she needs to saddle herself with these like gimmicky things. You know?
Yeah. No, agreed, 100%. I feel like she, I take the piss out of Cody Rhodes a lot for being overproduced and overproducing everything he does. And I feel like it's very much the same with Shotzi. It's like a tiny tank, like to your point, you don't need it, but fine. If that's what you want to do, okay. But then like howling, screaming, like just don't. Just don't do it. Just be good in the ring, please. That's all we want.
Do you think she is good in the ring?
I know. Just like stick to that.
Yeah. And it's not really no shape, but like they're doing something with Xia Li by the looks. Bauer came out and handed her a letter, and then she left. Okay, mystery started.
Yeah.
Who knows? All in all, though, good week for NXT. A lot of good matches. All in all, a good card. Some things I weren't overly thrilled with. Very unfortunate injury by the looks, but I'm going to give it a 3 overall. I think it was a decent week.
Okay, I had middle of the road. I've gone with a 2.5, so I think it was better than Raw. But yeah, there was enough about it that was negative as much as there was that was positive. So yeah, for me, it's like a middle of the road kind of show. Some good bits, but some bits I was just like, so yeah, middle of the road.
Middle of the road. Okay, Carl. Do you want to talk about 30 years of Jericho?
30 years of Jericho.
30
the superior
years of Jericho.
Wednesday night show is Dynamite. So the card for 30 years of Le Champion, we had the FTW Championship on the line with Brian Cage taking on Will Hobbs in a big Hoss Fest. With
so
Cage,
Hobbs is challenging for the FTW Championship?
He was.
Okay.
With Cage retaining. We had the tag titles on the line. So we had FTR taking on the Hybrid 2 with FTR retaining. We had the TNT title on the line in a dog collar match. The returning Cody Rhodes took on the champion Brody Lee. And Cody Rhodes managed to pick up the win, much to Anthony's dismay, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. We had Big Swole taking on Serena Deeb, with Big Swole picking up the win. And the main event of the night was Chris Jericho celebrating his 30 years, teaming up with Jake Hager, taking on the Chaos Project, which is Serpentico and that guy. What the fuck's he called? Luther Vandross. So the highlights of the week. So there was actually one O'Shite this week. I know, right?
Crazy.
Really let themselves go. No, so it was a very good week. I'm not gonna lie. So let's start off with the FTW title.
I was quite surprised before we even get into it. Like, FT title is now a thing that you challenge for.
Yeah, me too. I feel like back in the ECW days, it wasn't a title that was defended a lot, but it was defended at times. I think basically
because I thought the idea behind it was just Taz sort of having it because he was always sort of denied a legitimate title shot, so he was crowning himself. I didn't think it was ever anything more than that, like gimmick-wise. You know what I mean?
So I think it kind of always started out that way, and similar to how Brian Cage got it, it was like, well, he doesn't need the AEW titles because he is the man, and this title proves that he's the man, he's the best, he's the fuck the world champion, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But yeah, like for Taz, he would eventually end up putting that on the line to prove that he was the baddest man on the planet, kind of thing, and kind of came from that regard. So I feel like they've gone from that ilk. But I hope it's not something they put on the line all the time. But that being said, I can get behind a title match or an opportunity contest between Brian Cage and Will Hobbs because you know me, I am a sucker for.
You are a sucker.
I am a sucker. I do love me a like for like kind of mirror match, Mortal Kombat kind of style. Look in the mirror, I'm fighting myself kind of match up, and big, powerful bastards with a shit ton of agility. Exactly what I want to see them take on each other.
Yeah, in all fairness, very, very evenly matched in that respect, aren't they?
I don't think we were ever expect this to be a wrestling classic, because it wasn't. But yeah, so I just want to say, fair play to these guys. They kind of put everything into it, delivered above and beyond. And again, Brian Cage, for the size of the bastard, he's fucking agile, man. And,
credit where credit's due.
Will Hobbs as well. Like, I've not really been that well versed with him, but every time I've seen him, he's impressed me. He impresses me more and more. I feel like this was a really, really good contest between the two of them. Just these two muscle-bound monsters. Don't listen, Lance Archer, because you're going to give yourself another nickname. But yeah, these muscle-bound monsters. I don't know. I just thought it was good. A great way to open the show. And then, interestingly, after the match, Taz actually offered Hobbs the chance to join his faction. And basically, if he said no, he was going to get his ass kicked. If he said yeah, then welcome to the faction. But Darby Allin comes out and basically kind of scares them off the ring. So I don't really know what that means. Part of me is thinking, are we going to see Will Hobbs join the faction? But let's see. I don't really know what it's called. Taz's men. Team Taz.
Tasmania.
Tasmanian Devils. So that was the opening contest. We also got a couple of vignettes for the Lance Archer and Jon Moxley title match that we're going to see next week. And both of them are really good. Like, I've given Lance Archer some shit. And,
me too.
He comes out, he's like, the Murder Hagman's there. And, like, just beats people up and throws them and stuff, whatever. And it's pretty shit. Like, really shit. But for once, he sounded like a badass. Really, really good promo. He's basically said, all this time, Moxley, you've been wasting your time taking on the likes of Eddie Kingston, the Butcher. You should have been using that time to prepare for me. They fought each other before in New Japan. Interesting that they're now mentioning New Japan, based on the news article last week of the guy who wasn't keen on it since being released from the company. So are we going to see more mentions? But yeah, he said, we fought each other in New Japan, and Moxley won that match, but you know what? He's learned a lot since then. This time, it's not going to be pretty. He's grown since then. And I'll tell you what, Mox, you're not going to have a good time. So really, really strong promo, I think, from Lance Archer. He did the talking instead of Jake, which I thought was refreshing. As good as Jake is,
fair,
it was good to hear him do a fair promo for himself. Mox then kind of counteracted that by saying, it's an anniversary next week, but he's got no time to celebrate. And he's had no time to celebrate. He's been facing nothing but monsters and up-and-comers, but, he knows everyone's trigger gets pulled and eventually he's going to be taken out. It could be Lance Archer. But the fact is, you don't just beat Lance, you survive Lance. And, as Lance always says, everybody dies. So great promo from both of them, and it actually got me really hyped for it. So fair play to pair of them. Really, really strong.
No, I can't disagree with any of that, mate. It was good work from both parties, and I'm similar to yourself. I've not been big on Archer, but this has a lot of promise. Could be a good match, a very good match.
Fingers crossed. I'm actually really looking forward to it. FTR continue to be solid in everything they do. Standard thoroughfare for them. Nothing too out the ordinary.
It's sort of the only thing I would say is it's what you expect, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
no one expected them to lose here.
Well, exactly. So it was very much a kind of cookie cutter match for them. It was, that the fantastic tag team wrestlers, every time they put on a tag team match, they elevate the other team, and it's always a strong contest. So it's very much like there's no way on earth it's a no shite, but at the same time, it doesn't blow you away because they consistently put on that kind of match.
Yeah.
So where it's the likes of the Young Bucks and other people put on it's different because every kind of week they do something to elevate the game, or they do another high spot or something, and you're talking about it. These guys are just consistent. They're great at what they do, and they do it every time. And this one was kind of no different. So I thought it was good. Meanwhile, the Young Bucks are kind of watching on, and they say that oh wow, FTR, they're pretty good. Oh, by the way, then they super kick the camera. So I'm still not massively keen on this weird thing with them kind of beating people up with super kicks, but
they're not beating them up. It's a party.
It's a super kick party. But yeah, the match overall I thought was a highlight. Then we get Cody versus Brody, and it was fucking awesome. It was so good. Super physical contest. Gritty, bloody, and I know you've got some thoughts on this, and we will get to that. For me, watching this, I just thought, it was just so good. There was no need for like thumbtacks, barbed wire, glass, all the stuff we typically see from like a hardcore match. It was just two dudes who fucking hate each other. They've got some serious beef, and they're chained together by the neck. And that's all you needed. They got enough blood, they got enough physicality, and they got enough kind of. It didn't hold them back from putting on a really good match. Which they had Greg Valentine in the audience, who was a previous participant in a dog collar match, and I thought that was a really nice touch. Being someone like me who's fucking so enamored with the past.
Mark.
I'm such a mark. That being said, fuck Arn Anderson. Like, why can we not just have just a match with Cody where Brandy doesn't come out and gets fucking knocked out, or fucking Arn Anderson starts getting like, just have a match. You don't like, you've got a massive posse of people, we get it, but fucking hell, every time you got to get involved, and it didn't need to happen. So that was very annoying, but not enough to make this a no shite. Because the match itself was just fucking phenomenal. If you take that one little like iota out of it, it would have been almost perfect in my opinion. But yeah, the finish, was brutal, absolutely brutal. Like, I know you're not happy that Brody lost at all, and I get that. I'm not happy either. He's only held the belt for a short amount of time. It was an amazing crowning moment for him, and he kind of catapulted himself into superstardom in AEW, and now he's lost it straight away. So, not great. But like the physicality behind this match and how he lost it, and the chain in his mouth, across his nose, across his eyes, and it was awful to watch, and that makes it so good. Like, you could see that Cody was back and he had a fucking chip on his shoulder, and he won. And yeah, do I think he should have won? No. Do I think he would have lost based on the fact he just come back? No. So I kind of thought he was going to win, but I just think they shouldn't have booked the match.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think this is, for me, I have no problem with the match itself. And if I'm honest, this is the strongest way for Brody to lose. It just happened too soon.
Yeah.
Like, Brody doesn't look weak come from this. This was a fucking slog of a match. But he's only just got the belt, and that's the bit I keep landing on. I'm like, why did they like, booking wise, why have they dropped it so soon? They could have built back up to this, but here we are. We're here, and Cody's got the belt back.
Yeah, it's it definitely is strange. It seems very out of character for AEW to do something like this, where someone comes back and then just wins straight away.
I'm intrigued to see where they're going. I am.
Yeah, well, by all accounts, it's going to be Orange Cassidy who's up next, because after the match, Cody cuts a typical Cody promo where he's very much invested. He's very passionate to get you invested and passionate and really feeling everything he's saying. You kind of hang on his every word. But he says next week's the anniversary. It's been 1 year. He wants to defend the title. He's just won. Orange Cassidy comes out.
Have we seen Cody Cassidy?
I don't know. I don't think I have. I don't know whether we've seen it.
But I'm thinking about it, like, that would be an incredible, especially the Cassidy we're getting at the minute, who is gently becoming more impassioned than coasting through. I sent you a thing from Reddit about that, about like the slow build story of how he ended up sort of just phoning it in, and how he's ended up building himself back up to this passionate about wrestling kind of position.
Well, part of me...
Go on, sorry.
No, sorry. Part of me wouldn't be surprised if Cassidy wins, because I feel like Cassidy could never take the title off Brody, but it would have made sense for Cody to take it off Brody and then maybe drop it. So I don't know whether they're potentially going to go...
I mean, for me, this could work. Like, I know it'd be a quick changeover, but then I'd be like, that would build to even potentially a rematch that I'd enjoy, because Cody would be so frustrated losing to Cassidy as well.
Yeah.
Especially the way his attitude's been at the minute. Losing to someone who's not putting their 110% in would actually really piss him off.
Like, for me as well, like, being a fan of MMA and watching, a number of UFC cards where someone will win the belt and then they'll defend the belt the first time and they lose it. And it's like, it's not uncommon in
exactly,
in
it does happen.
So it's like, part of me is like, well, fucking hell, Brody didn't get enough of an opportunity with that belt. But then part of me is also thinking, well, he doesn't need the fucking belt. He's Brody Lee. Like he's cemented himself now as a former champion. That's elevated him enough. Like, where's he going to go next from his character standpoint? Meanwhile, Cody's become the first 2-time champ. He doesn't really need the belt either. So it's like, is this going to be a case of getting Brody and Cody back in a feud, but not for the title? So part of me thinks, well, maybe Cassidy will get this. But that's why we got to tune in this Wednesday to the anniversary show.
Because to be honest, like, I'm not overly, but like, I'm thinking forward, and you might disagree, but like, if Archer ultimately takes the belt from Mox, a good opponent for Archer could be Brody Lee.
I would love. I mean, I love a good stylistic matchup, so I would happily see that.
The only reason I thought you might not agree is because Brody Lee's obviously been up against Mox before now, so you could go, well, he's had his shot. But I'm all for that. I'd happily have that match.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, I know it's a bit of a shame that he's lost it so soon, but
it is.
Who knows? It's not to say Cody's going to hold it for a long time either. So, I don't think we're going to see the return of him putting it on the line every week. So if anything, it kind of leads me to believe he will lose it, because obviously FTR have got the whole fucking challenge, or whatever they call it at the minute. So yeah. And then, Anthony, the final highlight of Dynamite was the main event. So Jericho in tag team action with Jake Hager taking on Luther and Serpentico. And he just Jericho'd it 100%. Him and Luther go way back by all accounts. Luther is
surprisingly more than I thought. It was that I think Jericho put it up on his Instagram or his Twitter, like a bit of a video package of like the years together, and you're like, fuck, they do go way back.
Yeah, way back. And do you know what? Jericho just did what Jericho does, and he just fucking did everything in his power to make Luther look like a badass in this whole match. Luther is definitely not the guy he once was, and I think he will admit that himself. He's definitely a lot older and a lot more beat up from all the kind of death matches and stuff he's done in the past. So, and that kind of shows, but at the same time, Jericho did everything he could to sell for him. He fucking flew around that ring. He flew around that arena. So yeah, I just thought it was amazing of Jericho to invest in his friend like that and, try his best to put him over. Obviously, Jericho picked up the win. He's going to pick up the win. But that's what he does so best. Similar to like a Brock Lesnar, where he'll fucking get thrown around by somebody but still pick up the win. Jericho just got battered. But, he really put Luther over in this, and he ended up picking up the win at the end of it. After the match, MJF comes down. He says next week he's going to make a career-defining announcement. And he wants to make sure Chris Jericho is there for it. So that's obviously making us believe he's going to join the Inner Circle. That's when Jericho goes, don't ever interrupt me again. MJF's giving him a present, which is actually a framed picture of himself. And he's got a clown to present it to him. Jericho smashes it over the clown and says he hates clowns. And then, there's this kind of animosity, but then they all like start laughing. And they're like, yeah, you almost got me there. And then in the weirdest ending to an AEW ever, they have this like Saturday Night Live end to the show.
Made me chuckle, to be honest.
He thanks everybody, and then all the credits roll, and it's Chris Jericho is everyone from the fucking
writer, producer, lighting
to like the fourth fucking assistant. You know what I mean? Like he's everywhere. So I thought that was really fun.
I know, I enjoyed that little skit. It did make me laugh, I must admit.
And then the only shite I've got was, so the best friends come out after the FTR match, and they're basically saying that they're next in line. But they come out, and it's a really childish thing. They basically come out with like T-shirts on. They've got pictures of FTR in as hot dogs, and they come out and they're like, "Hey, it's got you weenies," and then they challenge them to a match. Yeah, I think
that was weak, especially when like we've seen WWE try and put stupid gimmicks onto FTR. I think it's like, the fuck is this?
Well, I just think off the back of the best friends match, the fucking parking lot brawl thing, that was phenomenal. Yeah, you come back and it's like, hey, you weenies. It was like,
a bit childish, really.
Didn't land with me at all.
No,
so for me, all in all, really, really good show. I am giving it a 4 because I can't fault much of it at all. But that being said, there wasn't enough to just kind of, in terms of the matches themselves, to like, I thought the dog collar match was fucking fantastic. It could have been on any pay-per-view that they put out. But the rest of the card were just a bit like, they were fine. Do you know what I mean? amazing. So a 4 for me.
I'm going to go 3.5, only because I'm largely a lot more unhappy with the title change than you are. Like the match itself was, I can't deny it was a good match, but I just wasn't happy with the title change to the point that it knocks it down that half a point for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cool.
So
let's talk about SmackDown, Carl. Not just SmackDown, not just any old SmackDown. This is the first night of the WWE confusing as fuck draft. Let's talk about that, right? So we'll talk about the card first of all, right? The cards, Carl. We saw Big E going up against Sheamus in a Falls Count Anywhere match with Big E taking the win. We saw Roman Reigns cut a promo. We saw Miz and Morrison take on Hardy and Riddle, with Hardy and Riddle taking the win. We saw Bayley go up against Sasha Banks, with Sasha Banks taking the win because of a DQ, so kind of not whatever. We saw Cesaro and Shinsuke go up against The New Day. And I'm not just talking The New Day, I'm talking Kofi and Xavier Woods, the returning Xavier Woods. And surprisingly, this was for the titles, and New Day took the win. And we end the night with Kevin Owens versus The Fiend, with The Fiend taking the win. So
on paper, it looks all right, doesn't it?
On paper, it looks all right. And as far as highlights go, Carl, so much I think you might be surprised at this. Big E versus Sheamus was a really good match.
I've got a drink, but imagine if I was drinking a drink at that time.
They both went for it. They both really went for it.
I know. It was
They put themselves through some punishment. There was a lot of big spots on the cars, like smashing through windscreens and stuff. You know, they really put their bodies through it, and they put a lot of effort in. And I can't deny that this is some of the best I've seen from either of them in weeks. So, highlight where highlights due. Awesome. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like it was the best contest those two together have had. It still felt a bit like, I'm seeing these again. Even though it was, significantly better. I just thought, change it up a bit. But yeah, I thought the match itself, you can't really fault it. It was, very, very much a triumph over anything they've produced before, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as other highlights go, this will kind of lead into a bit of an shite as we talk on later. But the New Day being back, fair enough. I've not seen Xavier in a time, and it was more about Xavier being back than anything else. But it was good to see them all back together again. You forget that you missed them, really, I suppose.
I didn't really understand why they made their appearance dressed as security.
I wasn't overly sure on that. I feel like there was something missing there that we probably should have known about, but we didn't. Don't know. Now, in all fairness, KO versus The Fiend was a good match. It was very enjoyable, but I'm not sure where it's going. There was a lot of no-selling KO stuff. Not quite sure what the aim is at all with all this. But all in all, it was a good match between the two. There was a lot of fun spots, basically KO just trying to sort of go into the stunner whilst being going with the mandible claw situation and stuff like that. Doing his best to try and get the Fiend off of him, and it didn't work out. And to be fair, as much as it's a bit annoying that he was no selling stuff, like when KO's throwing kicks at him and stuff, and it's not phasing him. It's that classic sort of Fiend gimmick where it's not that he's I don't know, he's not a terrifying monster in the sense he's going to throw you around. It's just like, what do you do to bring him down? And that was originally how they brought him into things before Goldberg could put him down with a single jackhammer. Well, more than that, to be fair. I'm just being bitchy. But all in all, it was a good match. I'm just not sure why they've sort of gone for it here and why it started in the first place.
Yeah, for me, on paper, you see Kevin Owens and The Fiend, and it's like, it's my wet dream because, stylistically amazing. The pair of them, love the bones of them. So for me, it's something I would really get behind. Execution-wise, it's just like, it's come from nowhere, from the Kevin Owens show where Alexa was a guest. Now they're fighting for no reason, and it's like, Owens is dead again. It's like,
the only saving grace is Aleister Black were involved, to be honest.
Well, very true. For me, those two could put on a fucking clinic. It would be amazing. But yeah, it's not, and it's because they don't want it to be, and they can't be asked. So it's that which brings the whole thing down for me, because it's a shame, because I want to see these two go at it. I want to see these two in a feud. But when they just go and phone it in and just half-ass it from a storyline perspective, that's why neither of these guys end up getting fucking over or getting over the the main screen time, because whenever they do just half-ass stuff, they're like, well, if people aren't reacting to this, it's like, well, maybe fucking give a damn and actually make it enjoyable. Yeah. But don't know, a bit of a waste of opportunity in my opinion.
No, I'd agree with that. So looking at the O'Shites, Carl, the first one is a biggie in all fairness, and it starts with the fact that they cut this thing where the New Day are drafted to Raw, but not the whole New Day, just the tag champions in Kofi and Xavier Woods. To add this, oh no, and they were upset, like say Big E's name and so on like that, and ultimately Big E's staying on SmackDown. But for some reason, we can move all of the Hurt Business as one entity. So their rules, just in general, have some sort of structure and rules, because you're moving tag champions over as a whole thing. You can move the entire Hurt Business over, but for no reason at all, you're splitting the New Day up. So meet the criteria for what you're doing anyway. I don't understand why that.
I think like when WWE announced the rules of the draft, they said that they could draft tag teams or members of tag teams that they so choose fit or something. So they worded it in such a way where they don't have to like draft the whole tag team if they don't want to. But it's so fucking silly, isn't it? It's like, well...
But it's like, if you don't want to, so you want to split up the New Day, who are well-established and popular and liked by everyone and sell merch, but you don't want to split up Hurt Business, who are barely established.
It's not even that, though, as well. It's like, I can draft like all 3 superstars as one pick, or I can just draft 2 of them. Like, you draft the third one just for shit and gigs, even if you traded them back at a later date.
Exactly,
you draft all 3 as one pick.
To give you more position of power. It made more sense if you had drafted them all and then negotiated Big E back, and that was the grief.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, that was stupid. Another one, while I'm moaning about the draft, was Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have been drafted to Raw, but will also appear on NXT and SmackDown because the titles are defended everywhere. It's like, so
what's the point in even drafting them in? It should just be.
Why were they even in this then?
Yeah,
fucking lunacy. So that was kind of stupid too. But all in all, the draft itself, like I mentioned earlier, but I'll mention again, like some of the picks are just a bit odd. Like Tucker has been drafted to Raw.
So basically, for me, that is bye-bye Tucker. Bye-bye Tucker, because he's not going to have any fucking time on Raw.
No, he's not. But on top of that, it's like, why is he a draft pick at this stage?
No idea.
There are a ton of free agents that make more sense, and you picked them just so you can split him and Otis up. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
But it just makes no sense. Like I mentioned it earlier, but like Dana Brooke being picked above Mickie James as a concept. If you're whoever's making the pick, because we don't even have GMs anymore, who the fuck made that call? Like some of the picks just don't make sense when you're looking at who's left as a free agent. It's just weird.
Yeah, I think in terms of that question, I believe it is the network honchos in conjunction with the WWE authorities, apparently. So
okay, well apparently they don't watch the product.
Even they don't know. So yeah,
strange, man. They're just drawing them in alphabetical order, maybe. D before M.
You've seen that episode of South Park, haven't you, where the like how Family Guy episodes get made?
Yeah,
just that.
It's that.
Just some fucking dolphins just going. Poof. Who is it? Okay, Tucker. Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening. The other shite is it comes on the back of the Roman Reigns promo. No issue with Roman Reigns promo. No issue with the way his character's being booked at the minute. No issue with the feud, but the actual concept. The highest stakes you've ever had, Carl. What is it? It's an I Quit in a Cell match. Okay.
Okay.
So what's next? Are we gonna have tables in a cell? Cage on a ladder match? Falls count anywhere in the cage? Like, I don't, like, why is adding another gimmick to a gimmick match a thing? Why does that make the stakes higher?
I like that last one the best. Falls count anywhere in the cage.
I like that one in particular because that's exactly how it is. Okay, why not have that? That's just, yeah. But no, like, joking aside, like, I was expecting more when he's like, these are the highest stakes. And to be honest, I was nearly on board for the I Quit match. It's in a cell because it's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. But I was almost on board for the I Quit match if he'd have said to him, I don't want you to say I quit. I want you to say, I am the chief. You know, because that's what he wants.
That has been the whole fucking stimulus. Yeah, the whole stimulus of his promo is say, like, call me the chief.
Yeah.
So, like, surely that lends itself to that. But like to your point, how does an I Quit match being confined to a cell, how's that more fucking hardcore or more dangerous than having it potentially go anywhere? Like you could run someone over with your fucking car in the parking lot if you wanted to, make them say I quit. But no,
Exactly.
we're in a cage where I can only hurt you with a bit of steel.
Yeah, it just makes it weaker.
Mm.
We're like having imagine slapping it with it's I quit in a casket match. An I quit dog collar match. Like, why? Well, what's the point in slapping these things together, man? Other than the fact that the pay-per-view is called Hell in a Cell, so you have to have a Hell in a Cell. So yeah, no issue with Roman though. I'm still really enjoying their feud and Roman's heel. It's just the actual I was a bit like, oh, these are the highest stakes. Okay, sure. Okay, you ready for this one, Carl?
No.
Now, and this is what I pre-wrote, so I'm going to try and read it. Now, I'm not going to moan about Lars.
Seamless. You never tell me.
He honestly has his controversy, and a lot of people have been rather outspoken that he shouldn't be in WWE. He should have been released on Black Friday. I'm not going to wish this man lose his job. He paid £100,000 fine or whatever. He issued his apology for the stupid shit he said on these bodybuilder forums or whatever bullshit it was, and I'm not gonna sort of harp on about whether I think he should be in WWE or not. Right? What I want to moan about is the massive amount of hype Michael Cole. That's you, right? Michael Cole and Corey Graves. I think I can't remember who's on commentary anymore. Those two were giving him when he turned up, and they're like, "Oh yeah," right? And honestly, right, it's this typical thing of forcing nicknames, right? They called him the Freak. I actually counted this, Carl, because I'm pathetic, right? They called him the Freak 12 times in the 2 minutes he was in the ring. 12 fucking times. And like, this is a freak. He's a freak, super freak. And I'm like, why? Right? And then, and on top of that, and again, I mean, no offense, Lars, if you're listening, but you probably aren't. And I hope you know. Corey Graves referred to him as he's a highly intelligent and dangerous man. Like, what's the intelligence comment based on? It's certainly not based on his approach to social media.
Into someone's fucking DMs.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Not got that fucking sense, has he? So, what's it based on? Because all I've seen him do is scream and hit people.
Because he's a freak. He's a freak, Anthony. He's a freak. Super freak.
Freaking freak.
Big guy. Yeah.
So So that's. I'm not going to moan about the rest of the stuff with Lars. I'm just going to moan about the way that they booked him coming into this. Oh my god! It's like, what? Why? He's just some guy who used to job on NXT who's turned up randomly and attacked people. It doesn't mean anything to us. And the more you tell us he's a freak, the more it feels a little bit like when you kept calling Dean Ambrose a lunatic fringe. It's not a thing. Stop trying to make it a thing.
It's almost like they're trying to push an agenda on us. Almost. A little bit.
Almost.
Well, it's only 12 times in 2 minutes, so
12 times in 2 minutes, man. Anyway, that was my last O'Shea, Carl. Right, but before we do the results, this was draft night one. This was a big draft. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about the draft picks that we know of so far. This is subject to change, okay? But this is what it is at the time we're talking, right? So what we know so far is Drew McIntyre has been drafted to Raw, so he's staying. We know Asuka is staying on Raw. We know the Hurt Business are staying on Raw. We know Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are staying on Raw unless they go to NXT and Smackdown
to defend
the titles. It will get there. We know Ricochet is staying on Raw. Yeah, because, Ricochet, high draft pick. Why the fuck not? We know Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are both staying on Raw because, again, why not pick them as soon as possible, just in case? Exactly. Angel Garza's set to stay. No mention of Andrade yet. We have AJ Styles moving over to Raw. What do you want to say about that, Cal?
I mean, a slight little coinky-dink that Paul Heyman comes back onto SmackDown and all of a sudden AJ's fucked back off to Raw. It's almost like he doesn't like the guy.
I feel like no one even drafted him. I feel he's like, right, I'm drafted to Raw. And they're like, no, we haven't picked yet. AJ. No, I'm drafted to Raw.
Well, do you know what? I completely forgot all about this. And I was chatting to my brother at the weekend and he was like, Heyman. And I was like, what? And he was like, it's Heyman. And I was like, what the fuck are you on about? And he was like, well, they don't like each other, do they? It's like, oh shit, we spoke about this weeks ago. I
know,
forgot
right?
all about this. And it's like, well, obviously, yeah. So
yeah, because they don't really cross paths, but obviously deliberately. But yeah, he's going back over to Raw now, or the as far away from Heyman as possible division. So we see AJ Styles actually moving over to Raw, so that'll be interesting. We saw Naomi moving to Raw, Carl, and this can only mean good things. I hope this means what I hope it means, in that she's going to be joining the hair business as their female entity, which it makes sense because they want to go for all the gold. You need a woman to win the women's gold. So I like this. This could be a good thing for Naomi. We saw The Miz and John Morrison move over. Okay, sure. Why not? We saw, as mentioned, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods are moving to Raw. And naturally, the biggest pick of the night, we saw Tucker moving to Raw.
Why?
So that's a lot of stuff happening for Raw. What did SmackDown get? I hear you ask, with bated breath, Cal. Well, I'll tell you. They got to keep Roman Reigns. They got to keep Big E. They got to keep Otis, of course. They got to keep Sasha Banks. They got to keep Jey Uso. So, yay. Now, in all fairness, Jey Uso makes sense. Continue that feud going on. Big E apparently is having a solo run, so why the fuck not? Who did they get?
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
can I just ask why would Raw pick the Raw Women's Champion? Obviously, it's like their second pick. Why would SmackDown not even pick Bayley? Like why is Sasha Banks ahead of her? Why is Mandy Rose being drafted to Raw and Dana Brooke ahead of Bayley?
I want SmackDown to take both champions now, just because Raw have been fucking stupid.
Yeah, like surely if that was like a legitimate draft, like what? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, sorry.
No, I totally agree. You're like, first thing you go for would be the people with the belts, knobheads.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Bear in mind that means the IC title and US title are still in jet. Yeah, US title not so much actually. It's still within the hair business, isn't it?
Who's the? I don't know who the champ is. It Bobby Lashley then?
I think it might still be Bobby.
Yeah.
I don't recall. Okay. I'm losing it to a power. Either way, the US title's on Raw because Bobby's got it. I'm going to stick with that. And yet SmackDown have made no effort to secure Sami Zayn.
Exactly. So I reckon Raw should be like, okay, we want the IC and SmackDown Women's Champs, please. Thanks.
Yep. All of them. And but as people we saw move, we saw Bianca Belair coming over to SmackDown. Sure.
SmackDown Est.
The SmackDownist.
Yeah.
We saw Seth Rollins moving over to SmackDown. He's now going to be the savior of SmackDown. And we saw him cut a little bit of a promo where he's saying he's glad to be rid of Dominic and Rey. And then lo and behold, Dominic and Rey move as one entity for some reason over to SmackDown. Because we can make up whatever rules we fucking want. But the rest of the Mysterios are drafted to Raw. I'm just kidding. We don't know.
Well, interestingly, since this, I've seen some stuff on social media.
Go on.
That says Buddy Murphy is also being drafted to SmackDown. So I'm not too sure when that pick took place.
Well, apparently, I think the negotiations carry on all the way up to Raw tonight, so I don't know.
Right. But yeah, so I believe Buddy Murphy is also on SmackDown now, which means we haven't seen the end of the Seth Rollins thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we've not. They've just moved that whole feud over, haven't they?
Yeah. Now it's your problem.
Yeah. And anyone who was sitting there hopeful we were going to see Adam Cole, Tommaso, Rhea Ripley, all these people potentially being drafted over onto the main roster, using this as an opportunity. Nope. NXT aren't involved now. I know. We hinted at it. No, not happening. Let it go. So, yeah. But again, as we know, this draft means fuck all because people will just turn it where they want anyway. Look at Braun Strowman.
Exactly. I mean, well, look at Lars Sullivan. He was NXT, wasn't he, pretty much, until he just showed up, and now it's like, oh, now he is eligible because he just showed up. So you never know. On Raw, we might just get Rhea Ripley like, I'm on Raw now. And then
I think prime example of that would be Bianca Belair. She just turned up on Raw and was like, I go here now. And now she's a Raw superstar who's been drafted to SmackDown. It's like, well, you never really got drafted to Raw. What are your rules, WWE?
They don't know.
No one knows. But that was SmackDown as a whole. Those were the initial draft picks. This picks up on Raw, which is actually tonight at the time of recording. But we'll talk about that next week.
One very clear prediction I have is that since they have drafted the SmackDown champions to Raw, I expect to see the Street Profits join Bianca Belair on SmackDown.
Of course. How obvious is that though? That's kind of right.
Exactly.
But that was SmackDown, Carl. As far as my rating goes, I'm probably going to give it a 2. No, 2.5. It was better than Raw.
See, I'm also going to give it a 2.5, and I think that is just from the grandeur of the draft. Even though it sucked and most of the people just stayed, and there was only like about 6 people who actually moved shows. I am a fan of like the hype of the draft.
I kind of need to mention this now. It's in my head. You know what really kind of is nuts? Kevin Owens is still a Raw superstar, and Braun Strowman is still a SmackDown superstar. Neither of them were drafted, and neither of them were on their respective fucking shows. Well, Kevin Owens was on both actually, but nevertheless, why weren't either of them in the draft? Why isn't the Fiend a hot commodity? Why? You know what? I can't keep thinking about the draft. This is going to go on forever.
I mean, after all this anyway, and after everyone has been drafted, we're still going to get random people turn up as part of the Superstar Invitational, and they're just going to be back on the shows anyway.
Who the fuck looks at the draft and goes, we really need Tucker on Raw? Right, when you've got the Fiend.
I have no idea.
You've got the IC title holder. You've got, as much as I don't like him, you've got a legend in Jeff Hardy. You've got a ton of people, and the people running Raw are going, we need Tucker. Tucker is the linchpin to our master plan for this draft.
I feel like I've said this before. I don't know whether you want to do it next week while the draft is hot, or maybe at a later date. But I wonder whether we should, do a proper draft based on the, how the rosters were at the time of the draft, and as if we were the network executives, and just see what rosters we would end up with.
I like it.
If you pick fucking Tucker in your 3rd round draft pick or whatever, then
it's when like we agree to do this, and I sit down and I analyze it, and I realize that truly was what needed to happen. Like, no, I need to move Tucker. That's the only way this is going to work. Like that's what's going to happen, I think.
I'm interested to see any of our zany picks.
Oh, again, sorry, I know I've already given me rating, and it's not going to affect me rating, Carl. But we've delayed the court case between Otis and the Miz, because we're all looking forward to that. And we got that in a little backstage segment where Otis was practicing his legal speak by just randomly picking legal words and pronouncing them.
I mean, is it even a problem anymore now that Miz and Morrison have gone to Raw and Otis is on SmackDown?
Apparently, yeah, because they were handed a bit of paperwork. They said the delay in the court case probably because of the draft, so it's still ongoing. Which
show is it going to take place on?
But here's the thing: wouldn't this court case just push Otis to cash in sooner? Because if you've cashed in, there's nothing to fucking fight over.
Very true.
Just saying. Like, if there's no contract to battle over in court, then they're done. It's over. So why doesn't he just try and cash in? Even if he loses, why doesn't he just try and cash in now rather than Miz getting it? Anyway.
Too much logic.
But we left this. We did our ratings. I'm letting it go. Did you do your rating, Carl?
I did. I think I gave it a 2.5 as well.
Okay. So 2.5 all around. Smackdown shit. And that is This Week in Wrestling. So we hope you've enjoyed listening to today. This is episode 35. We've done 35 of these now, guys. We are hopefully getting into our stride. We are getting better as time goes on, certainly in my humble opinion anyway. But on top of that, this is like the biggest thing we've done, because we've interviewed someone who is an absolute, like, just
fucking legend.
A legend, a future legend, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world today. And that this will be a memorable one for us, so it needs mentioning again. We can watch that interview. It's boss. But at the end of it, if you want to find us on social media, where can they look, Carl?
Well, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We got a Snapchat. I don't think we got a Snapchat. We'll make a Snapchat. We are on all social medias, and you can listen to us on all of your podcast locales. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Google Podcasts. You can find us on Anchor.fm. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us anywhere. Where else are we, Anthony?
I mean, did we mention TikTok? We're on TikTok. We're TikTok famous.
We're on TikTok.
If you're wondering how do you find us on the podcasts, on the social media, just search A to the K. It's as simple as that.
A to the K. And if you want to check out our website, you want to see some, shout outs from some of the wrestlers out there who've endorsed us. If you want to, just find links to where you can listen to or watch us, you can head over to atothek.co.uk. And as Santino Morella would say, check it out. It'll change your life. So there is that.
Love it. And lastly, obviously, merch store coming soon.
Oh yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that.
Indeed. But no, it's been fun, guys. We hope you've enjoyed listening, and we will see you all next week.
Take it.
Hey everybody, this is Thunder Rosa, and you're watching or listening A to the K.